Hey guys, so today we're going to talk about how to write our lab reports entirely on Google Classroom using Google Documents, including how to create data tables, which for some of us I know is going to be a new skill. Now, the reason for this is we're no longer going to use our lab notebooks where we write our purpose and everything. If you look at two documents that you're going to need for this, the first one is your lab handout, the lab conservation of matter. It has these three boxes on it. You should have that out already. You're also going to need to go into Google Classroom and open up the document that says Conservation of Matter Lab Report Outline. And as you look at it, it should look very similar to the last one we did for the density lab. However, now there are sections for the purpose, hypotheses, procedure, materials, and data tables. Those are things that we wrote in the lab notebook with with pen last time. We're now going to submit that entirely on Google Classroom. So your whole lab report will be done on this Google document. And there's a couple reasons for this. Number one, it's going to be easier for you and for me. Number two, it's more likely what's going to happen in college when you need to submit lab reports and assignments online. And number three, you're going to learn some skills about how to create tables and graphs that you'll be able to take beyond this class and apply to anything that you're doing. So, pretty straightforward. Purpose, hypotheses, procedure, materials, you'll just type those up like we learned how to do before. Data tables is the part that might be a little tricky. So I'm going to show you how to do one together and how to manipulate the data tables, and then you can create the rest of them yourself. So we're going to start by scrolling down to our first set of data, which was for equation 1. So I'm going to make a note here for equation 1, because I'm going to create the data tables here. Okay, and you can bold it, you could just italicize it if you want, it's up to you, it doesn't really matter. But now I need to create the table. So the first thing I need to do to create the table is figure out how big the table needs to be. So I need to figure out how many columns it has and how many rows it has. So I look at this first table right here. Columns are up and down. So I notice that I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 columns going up and down, and 1, 2, 3 rows going left to right. That's the maximum that I need. So when I go back to my discussion on Google Classroom, to create that table that has 6 columns and 3 rows, I'm going to go up to Table, Insert Table, and I'm just going to drag my mouse over until I get to the right size, 6 by 3. I'm not going to click until I have the right size selected, then I'm going to click. And once I do that, the table should get inserted. Now what I need to do is start labeling it. So I notice that the first column is titled reactant, so I'm going to write reactant. The next column is mass of beaker empty, so I'm going to write mass of beaker empty, and on until I have all the columns filled out. What about the rows? The first one was NaCl, so I'll type in NaCl. Second one is H2O. One formatting thing, if you want to make this too small like it should be in the formula, what you need to do is highlight it, and then go up to Format, Subscript. That will make the number small. Now you'll notice in the table here that on the far right in the 5th and 6th columns, these two boxes just look like one. It's not two separate boxes like here, it's one combined. So how do we do that? It's actually really simple. We'll go over to that column, this 5th column, and we notice these two boxes here. We want to turn them into one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to Table, and I'm going to click on this function that says merge cells. What that's going to do, merging, it's going to combine those two cells, which is another word for box, into one. So when I click it, you'll notice that those two boxes become one. Now I'll go ahead and highlight these two because in the lab table that looks like one also, and I'm going to do the same thing, table, merge cell. Excellent. So now I have the format. I just need to plug in my numbers and my labels, including my units, and I'll be good to go. The only thing I want to add are a few details. Let's say you needed to add another row down below. You don't have to create a new table. All you need to do is click somewhere in your box on your table and go up to Table and click Insert Row. Remember, rows are left to right. You have two options, either below where your mouse is or above. So if my mouse is right here and I click Insert Row below, it's just going to add another row right there, which is very easy. Or I could insert a row above if I needed to put one in the middle. Same thing with left to right. I can insert columns to the left or I can insert columns to the right. The last thing is, let's say you created a table by accident that instead of being 6 by 3 was like 5 by 3. Ooh, and it's off, and you just want to start over. In order to delete it, all you have to do is go up to table, make sure you're clicked inside the box somewhere, table, delete table, and it's all gone. Now you have the tools. You need to go back and create this second table for equation 1, and then do the same thing for equation 2 and equation 3. How can you save yourself a little bit of time? One last trick. If you highlight the entire table and go to Edit, Copy, then Edit, Paste, the whole table will be reproduced, and you just need to change the labels. You don't have to create a whole new one every time. So with that knowledge, go ahead, start working on your data tables in your lab report.